Welcome back to Z.Coins. If you're into coin collecting or just stumbled upon an old quarter from 1965, this video might surprise you. Today, we're diving deep into the fascinating world of the 1965 Washington quarter dollar coin. This one little piece of American change could actually be worth a whole lot more than 25 cents. In fact, under the right circumstances, it could be worth thousands of dollars. So stay with me as we explore its rich history, rare varieties, and the current market values that have collectors everywhere on the hunt. Let's start with a bit of background. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. But the year 1965 marks a major turning point in U.S. coinage history. Up until 1964, quarters were made of 90% silver. These silver quarters had real intrinsic value due to the precious metal. But in 1965, things changed. Why the change? Well, the United States was facing a serious coin shortage in the early 1960s. Rising silver prices were causing people to hoard coins. The U.S. Mint realized they could no longer afford to make circulating coins with silver. So, in 1965, they introduced what's known as the clad composition. From that point on, quarters were made from a copper-nickel sandwich. That means a pure copper core bonded between layers of copper and nickel, and that's where the story of the 1965 Washington quarter gets interesting, because it was the very first year of the clad quarters. Mistakes and transitional errors occurred. And in the world of coin collecting, those mistakes can mean serious money. Let's talk about the key varieties and errors collectors are hunting for. The most famous and valuable variety is the 1965 Washington quarter struck on a 90% silver planchet. Yes, that's right. A few 1965 quarters were accidentally struck using leftover silver planchets from 1964. These are called transitional errors. They should not exist, but a few made it out of the mint and into circulation. These rare silver 1965 quarters can fetch thousands of dollars at auction. One example sold for over $7,000 because of its silver content and extreme rarity. So how can you tell if your 1965 quarter is a silver error? Here's what to look for. First, weigh the coin. A regular clad 1965 quarter weighs about 5.67 grams. But a silver quarter weighs about 6.25 grams. That small difference can make a big difference in value. Also, check the edges of the coin. A clad quarter will show a copper-colored edge, while a silver coin will have a solid silver edge with no visible copper. If your 1965 quarter has a silver edge and a heavier weight, get it authenticated immediately. Another rare find is the 1965 quarter struck on a dime planchet. These error coins are smaller in diameter and missing parts of the design, especially the rims and legends. If you find one of these, you could be looking at hundreds of dollars in value. Now, let's talk about the regular 1965 clad quarters. These coins were produced in massive quantities. Over 1.8 billion were minted that year. That means most of them are only worth face value in worn condition. However, high-grade examples can still carry a premium. Coins graded MS66 or MS67 by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC can sell for anywhere from $50 to several $100 depending on appeal and demand. And in extremely rare cases, an MS68 coin could fetch over $1,000. These are pristine coins with sharp details, no visible wear, and excellent luster. So, if you have a coin that looks flawless, it's definitely worth getting it evaluated by a grading company. Let's also take a moment to talk about the market trends. Over the last 10 years, demand for error coins and high-grade examples has been steadily growing. Collectors and investors are constantly searching for unique pieces, especially transitional errors like the silver 1965 quarter. As silver and copper prices fluctuate, interest in older coins increases. And with new generations getting into numismatics, the future value of rare coins continues to look strong. But here's the kicker. You don't have to be a professional to find valuable coins. These rare 1965 quarters have been found in pocket change, in old jars, and in inherited coin collections. So take a close look at your coins. Check the dates. Examine the edges. And weigh them if you can. That spare change in your drawer might just be a treasure. Before we wrap up, here's a quick recap. The 1965 Washington quarter marked the end of the silver era and the beginning of clad coinage in the United States. Most are common and worth face value. But rare errors, especially those struck on silver planchets, can be worth thousands of dollars. High-grade examples are also valuable and in demand. So whether you're a seasoned collector or a beginner, the 1965 quarter is one coin you don't want to overlook. We're diving deep into the story of the 1973 Washington quarter. At first glance, this may seem like an ordinary coin you might find in your pocket change, but the truth is, some of these quarters are worth way more than 25 cents. In fact, depending on a few key details, they could fetch hundreds or even thousands of dollars on the collector's market. So sit tight and pay attention, because by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what to look for, and you just might find a fortune hiding in plain sight. Let's start with a little history. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th birthday of George Washington. Designed by John Flanagan, this iconic coin features a left-facing profile of Washington on the obverse and a majestic eagle on the reverse. The design remained largely unchanged until the state quarters program began in 1999. That means the 1973 quarter is part of a long line of classic American coins minted for everyday circulation during the 20th century. Now, 1973 was not a particularly low mintage year, which is why most people assume the quarters from that year aren't very special. But the real value lies in the details, mint marks, conditions, and especially minting errors. In 1973, the U.S. Mint produced Washington quarters at 3 different facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia quarters have no mint mark, Denver coins bear a D mint mark, and San Francisco coins from this year were made as proofs for collectors and carry an S mint mark. Over 350 million quarters were struck that year in total, so the average 1973 quarter in circulated condition isn't going to make you rich. But some exceptions are worth real money. Let's talk about proof coins first. The San Francisco Mint produced over 2.7 million proof quarters in 1973, and these coins were never meant to enter circulation. They were struck using polished dies and specially treated blanks to give them a mirror-like finish. If you find one of these coins in perfect, uncirculated condition, it might be worth between $5 and $15, not a fortune, but significantly more than face value. However, Ultra Cameo proof coins graded PR70, that's a perfect score, have sold for over $500 at auction. Now, let's get into the more exciting territory: rare errors and high-grade business strike coins. If you come across a 1973 quarter with a D or no mint mark in exceptional condition, it can be worth a lot more than you think. Coins graded MS65 or higher, especially those certified by trusted grading companies like PCGS or NGC, can command prices from $50 to well over $100 depending on the market. Why? Because truly pristine examples are rare. Most coins entered circulation immediately and were handled roughly, making high-grade survivors much more valuable. But here's where things get really interesting. Minting errors. These are the holy grail for many collectors. We're talking about double dies, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, and other rare mistakes that occurred during the minting process. For instance, a 1973 quarter with a double die obverse, that means the lettering or the date appears slightly duplicated, could sell for hundreds of dollars depending on the severity and clarity of the doubling. An off-center strike, where the design is misaligned and partially missing, can also be quite valuable, sometimes reaching into the $200 to $300 range. Even more rare are coins struck on the wrong planchet, such as a quarter struck on a dime or penny blank. These can sell for thousands. So what should you be looking for if you're checking your change or going through rolls of quarters? First, check the date. Is it 1973? Then look at the mint mark. Is it AD, S, or nothing at all? Next, inspect the coin's condition. Does it look nearly new, with no major scratches or wear? If so, you might have a high-grade coin worth getting appraised. Then take a close look for errors, anything that looks unusual like missing details, doubled features, strange shapes, or off-center designs could mean big money. A good magnifying glass or a jeweler's loupe can help you spot these details. Another factor in determining a coin's value is demand. The coin market is influenced by collector interest, auction results, and current trends. As of 2025, the market for Washington quarters remains strong, especially for error coins and high-grade examples. A 1973 quarter certified as MS-67 or better has sold at auction for over $1,000, and even higher if it's a known error variety. So here's the takeaway. While most 1973 Washington quarters you come across might only be worth face value, there are definitely exceptions. High-grade examples, proof coins in flawless condition, and especially mint errors can be worth a lot of money. And the best part is, these valuable coins might be sitting in your spare change jar right now. If you're into coins, cash, and the real stories behind American currency, then you're in the right place. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most underrated coins in your pocket change, the 1974 Washington quarter. You might think it's just another coin, but guess what? Some of these could be worth hundreds, even thousands of dollars. So sit tight as we break down the history, rare varieties, errors, and what these quarters are worth in today's market. Part 1. The history behind the 1974 quarter. The Washington quarter was first introduced in 1932 to commemorate the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. It was never meant to become a permanent coin, but the design was so popular it stuck around. Fast forward to 1974, and the U.S. Mint was still producing quarters in massive numbers. However, that year sits in a very interesting time in American coin history. Why? Because it came right before a major change, the introduction of the bicentennial quarter in 1975 and 1976. So while the 1974 quarter may seem common, it's from a transition period that makes it a point of interest for collectors. It was struck in 3 different mint locations: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Most coins from this year were made from copper-nickel clad, but there are a few surprises we'll get into. Part 2, Mint marks and what they mean. Let's talk about where your coin was made. If your 1974 quarter has no mint mark, it came from Philadelphia. If it has a D, it was minted in Denver. And if it has an S, that means it was minted in San Francisco and is likely a proof coin. Philadelphia and Denver coins were meant for circulation, so they're the most common. But the San Francisco proof coins? Those were never meant to enter circulation, they were made for collectors. Part 3, what makes a 1974 quarter valuable? Now, here's where things get interesting. A standard 1974 quarter in circulated condition is only worth face value, 25 cents. But if you've got a high-grade uncirculated coin or a rare error, the story changes fast. Let's start with condition. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70. Anything above 65 is considered high quality and can bring in significant value. A 1974 quarter graded MS-67 by PCGS or NGC, which means it's in mint state, could sell for $200 or more. Even higher grades like MS-68 are extremely rare and have sold for well over $1,000, but the real money comes in with error coins. Part 4, rare errors that are worth big money. So what kind of errors are we talking about? First up, double die obverse. This happens when the die that strikes the coin has a misalignment, leading to a doubling effect, especially on the date and the lettering. A 1974 double die quarter can bring in hundreds of dollars depending on condition. Next, off-center strikes. If the coin was not properly aligned during striking and came out off-center, it can be worth a lot more. The more dramatic the misalignment, the more valuable the coin. Then there's the wrong planchet error, where a quarter was accidentally struck on a coin blank meant for another denomination, like a dime. These are incredibly rare but have sold for thousands of dollars at auction. Finally, there's the San Francisco proof error coins. Some 1974 S-proof quarters have cameo or deep cameo finishes, which means they have a frosted image and mirror-like background. These in high grade can fetch between $50 to $200 or more. Part 5, Market trends and where to sell. The coin market is always changing. Right now, collectors are looking for high-grade examples of common date coins, especially from the 1970s. That means a top-grade 1974 quarter, even without errors, can still be a hot item. As of today, a pristine MS-68 1974 D quarter sold for over $3,800 at auction. That's right, from a coin that was once worth just 25 cents. So where do you sell if you think you've got something valuable? Your best options are online platforms like eBay, Heritage Auctions, or Great Collections. But before you sell, it's worth getting the coin professionally graded by PCGS or NGC. That grading certificate can make all the difference in your final sale price. Closing. So there you have it, the 1974 Washington quarter. From a pocket change item to a potential jackpot, this humble coin is full of surprises. If you're a collector, check your change. Look at the mint marks, the condition, and be on the lookout for errors. We dive into the fascinating world of rare coins and hidden treasures. In today's video, we're uncovering the full story behind the 1981 D Washington quarter dollar. This common-looking coin from the early 1980s may be sitting in your pocket change right now, but under the right circumstances, it could be worth a surprising amount of money. Let's rewind the clock to 1981. This was the last full year before the introduction of the Susan B. Anthony dollars redesign and the years leading up to the massive coin shortages of the early 1980s. It was a time when the U.S. Mint in Denver was operating at high capacity. The 1981 D Washington quarter was struck at the Denver Mint, identified by the small D mint mark just beside the bust of George Washington. That year, over 500 million quarters were minted in Denver alone. With such high mintage numbers, most people assume that all of these coins are common and hold no value beyond 25 cents. But that's not entirely true. While it's accurate that most circulated 1981 D quarters are still worth face value, there are specific varieties, conditions, and rare errors that make some of these coins highly collectible and even valuable. Let's break it down. First, let's talk about the design. The obverse or front of the coin features the familiar portrait of George Washington, which has been used on quarters since 1932. The reverse shows the heraldic eagle clutching arrows and olive branches, a symbol of peace and readiness for war. This classic design was in use until 1998 before the state quarters program began. Now, the first thing collectors look for in any coin is condition. Coins are graded on a 70-point scale, with MS-60 being the starting point for uncirculated coins. An MS-67 or MS-68 Washington quarter from 1981 with a Denver mint mark is quite rare. The higher the grade, the fewer coins exist in that condition, and the higher the market value. For example, a 1981 D quarter in MS-67 condition has sold for as much as $1,000 at auction. That's right, one single quarter that cost 25 cents face value sold for $1,000 due to its pristine condition and full strike, but condition isn't the only factor. Let's talk about mint errors. These are the real hidden gems. One well-known error on 1981 D quarters is the off-center strike. If the coin wasn't properly aligned during minting, it can appear as though part of the design is missing or shifted, and these can range in value from $20 to several $100s depending on how dramatic the misalignment is. Another sought-after error is the double die. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin has shifted slightly, creating a doubling effect in the lettering or details of the coin. While rare for the 1981 D quarter, if you do find a double die variety, it could easily command high prices, particularly if the doubling is clear and easily visible to the naked eye. Some collectors also hunt for coins struck on the wrong planchet. That's a coin blank meant for another denomination entirely, like a penny or a foreign coin. If a 1981 D quarter was struck on a smaller or lighter planchet, it could weigh less than the standard 5.67 grams. These wrong planchet errors are rare and can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. Let's not forget full strike coins. A coin with strong detail, especially in the eagle's feathers and Washington's hair, is more desirable. Collectors refer to these as full strike or full detail coins, and they command a premium over weak or average strikes. So what's the current market value for a 1981 D Washington quarter? For circulated examples, the value is usually 25 cents unless it has an error. However, uncirculated coins in MS-60 to 64 range can sell for between $1 and $5. Move up to MS 65 and 66, and you're looking at values from $20 to $100. In MS 67 and higher, prices jump significantly, sometimes into the four-figure range. The most expensive 1981D quarter known to date sold at auction for over $1,100 due to its superb condition, and I appeal, before you rush to cash in your coin jar, here's a tip. Start by looking at your 1981 quarters under good lighting. Check for the D mint mark. Weigh the coin. Look closely at the lettering and edges. Is the design centered? Are there any doubling effects? If you spot anything unusual, it might be time to send it to a professional grading service like PCGS or NGC. A small investment in grading can multiply the value of your coin dramatically. Collectors value authenticity and condition. Slabbed coins, that is coins certified and encapsulated by grading services, sell more easily and for more money because buyers trust the assessment. Whether you're a casual collector or a serious investor, the 1981D Washington quarter is a coin worth a second look. So what can we take away from all this? Don't dismiss those common-looking quarters. In numismatics, details make all the difference. A well-preserved or era 1981D quarter could turn a simple coin into a valuable piece of American history. Next time you're sorting through pocket change, remember this video. That quarter you're holding might be worth more than you think. We're diving deep into the fascinating story behind the 1982D Washington quarter dollar. This coin might look ordinary at first glance, but it holds secrets that could turn a few cents into thousands of dollars. Yes, you heard that right. The 1982D Washington quarter is more than just pocket change. It's a piece of American numismatic history, and for those who know what to look for, it can be worth a lot of money. Let's start from the beginning. The year was 1982. Ronald Reagan was in office. MTV had just launched. Gas was under $1. And in the world of coins, something unusual happened. The United States Mint made a major change. For the first time in over a decade, they decided to stop producing uncirculated mint sets. That's right. No mint sets were officially issued for collectors in 1982. What's the big deal? Without those official mint sets, the only way to get a pristine, high-quality 1982 coin was through circulation. In other words, every quarter from that year had to be pulled from everyday use. That meant most 1982 coins suffered scratches, dings, and wear almost immediately. Finding a 1982D Washington quarter in top condition became extremely difficult, but that's not all. There's another twist in this coin story. During the minting process in Denver, the mint experienced issues with the coin dies, resulting in what collectors now call a weak strike. At the same time, many coins left the Denver Mint without the intended reading on the edge or with extremely light design details. These minting problems led to several unique varieties being born, including the infamous no mint mark error and die varieties that are now highly sought after. One of the most valuable versions is the 1982D Washington quarter struck on a copper planchet instead of the intended clad composition. If you ever find one that weighs about 5 grams instead of 5.67 grams, don't spend it. That might be a rare transitional error from a leftover planchet from the 1970s. And those coins can sell for thousands of dollars at auction. Let's talk about value. Most 1982D quarters in average circulated condition are worth just their face value, 25 cents. But here's where things get interesting. In uncirculated condition, meaning no wear and strong detail, even a standard 1982D quarter can be worth anywhere from $10 to $50. In higher mint state grades like MS 65, the value climbs to over $100. And if you're lucky enough to find one graded MS 67 or higher by PCGS or NGC, you're talking real money, potentially over $1,000, depending on market demand. Now for the real jackpot. There are known examples of 1982D quarters that sold for more than $5,000. These were coins with exceptional strike, pristine condition, or rare die varieties. Some even showed full details on Washington's hair and the eagle's feathers, a rarity for this issue. These ultra-high-grade coins are few and far between, but they prove that even a modern-looking quarter can become a high-dollar collectible. So how do you know if your 1982 D Washington quarter is worth money? First, look at the condition. Is it clean? Sharp? Free of major scratches or dings? Next, weigh it. A normal quarter should weigh about 5.67 grams. Anything lighter or heavier could indicate a wrong planchet. Then examine the details. A strong strike with crisp edges and full design details is worth much more than a weak one. Finally, if you think you found something special, consider sending it to a third-party grading service like PCGS or NGC. A certified grade can drastically increase its value and help you sell it to serious collectors. It's also worth noting that interest in coins from the 1980s has been growing. Collectors who grew up in that era are now returning to the hobby and chasing down the coins of their childhood. That nostalgia has driven up the value of coins like the 1982 D Washington quarter, especially in high grades and rare varieties. So what's the takeaway? Check your change. Search your old jars. Look through that stash of coins sitting in the drawer. Because hiding in plain sight could be a rare 1982 D Washington quarter worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars. With a little luck and a sharp eye, you might just strike silver, even on a clad coin. We're diving into the fascinating story of the 1995 P Washington quarter-dollar coin, a common coin to most, but to collectors it might be worth much more than you think. If you've got one of these coins lying around, you're going to want to stick around because you might be sitting on a small fortune. Let's take it from the top. The Washington quarter has been a staple of American coinage since 1932. First introduced to honor the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth, it quickly became a permanent part of U.S. currency, but today we're focusing on the 1995 Philadelphia Mint issue, better known as the 1995 P Washington quarter. Now on the surface this coin looks like any other. It features the classic profile of George Washington on the obverse, the front of the coin with the word Liberty, the date 1995, and the mint mark P, which tells us it was struck in Philadelphia. On the reverse, you'll find the iconic eagle with wings spread wide, a symbol of strength and freedom, perched on a bundle of arrows with olive branches beneath. Over 1.1 billion of these coins were minted in Philadelphia alone, making it one of the most common quarters of the 90s. So why are we talking about it? Well, here's the twist. Not all 1995 P quarters are created equal. Some have rare and valuable errors that can send their value skyrocketing. Let's talk about the different types of these valuable quarters. First up, we have doubled die errors. These are coins that were struck by a die that accidentally imprinted a doubled image on certain parts of the coin. Most commonly this happens on the lettering or numbers like the word Liberty, the date 1995, or the motto In God We Trust. If you've got a 1995 P quarter with clear doubling, especially on the obverse side, you could be looking at a coin worth several $100s or even more. Next are off-center strikes. These occur when the coin isn't perfectly aligned during minting, causing part of the design to be missing or off-center. The more dramatic the error, the higher the value. A 10% off-center strike might bring in $20 to $40, but a 50% off-center strike can go for over $100 or more depending on condition. Then we have die cracks, cuts, and other minting anomalies. These can happen when the dies used to strike the coin are damaged, resulting in raised lines or blobs of metal on the coin. Collectors love unique errors like these, especially if they're prominent and invisible areas. One especially interesting variety to watch out for is what collectors call a spitting eagle. On some 1995 P quarters this isn't an official term, but it refers to a die crack that looks like the eagle is spitting or drooling. Look carefully near the beak area on the reverse side. If you spot one of these, you might have a minor error worth $20 to $50 or more. But errors aside, what about high-grade coins? Condition matters a lot in the world of coin collecting. Most quarters from 1995 have been heavily circulated, meaning they've picked up nicks, scratches, and wear over the years, but a 1995 P quarter in pristine mint state condition can be worth real money. Coins graded MS66 and up by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC are relatively rare. An MS67 example can sell for over $500, and get this, an MS68 1995 P quarter sold at auction for over $2,000. That's right, a coin you might find in your change could be worth thousands if it's in top condition. Now you might be wondering how to tell if your coin is worth anything. Here's What to do? Step 1. Take a close look at the coin. Use a magnifying glass if possible. Check for any doubling, especially on the lettering and numbers. Step 2. Examine the coin for any signs of off-center strikes or die cracks. Look for unusual raised lines, blobs of metal, or missing design elements. Step 3. Check the condition. If the coin looks new, shiny, and flawless, you might want to get it professionally graded. Step 4. Compare with recent auction results. You can check sites like eBay or auction houses that specialize in coins to see what similar coins have sold for. And here's an insider tip: hold on to any 1995 P quarters that look different even slightly. Don't clean them ever. Cleaning a coin reduces its value significantly. Instead, store it in a soft cloth or protective coin holder and consider showing it to a professional. Now let's talk about today's market. Coin collecting is booming right now. More people are searching through their change than ever before, thanks to viral videos and social media that's driving up the demand and prices for rare and error coins, especially from the 90s and early 2000s. The 1995 P quarter is benefiting from this surge in interest, so if you've got one or more in your collection, now might be a great time to have them appraised. And if you don't have one yet, keep an eye out. They're still in circulation, which means you could literally find a treasure in your pocket change or your coin jar at home. Before we wrap up, let's do a quick recap. The 1995 P Washington quarter is a common coin with uncommon value when you know what to look for. Key things to watch include double dies, especially on the obverse, off-center strikes or missing design details, unusual die cracks or spitting eagle errors, high-grade condition coins, especially MS-66 and above. Some of these coins have sold for hundreds, even thousands of dollars, so don't overlook that quarter just because it's from 1995. It might just be your lucky coin. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more about valuable coins hiding in plain sight, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a treasure hunting tip. Got a rare coin story? Let us know in the comments below. Thanks for watching and happy hunting.